Okay. Well, hi. It was nice to meet you at Offensive Con.
Nice to meet you too. Yeah, nice to meet you too. Yeah.
Maybe just to start off, could you introduce yourself for the people who might not know you?
Yeah, so my name is Amat Cama, and I am a security researcher. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't really specialize in any particular field, I kind of move around, but I've done some work on browsers, hypervisors, and some kernel work also. I worked for a few companies in the field. I mean, actually, I work for a few companies in the field. So yeah, now currently I'm independent, and I'm gonna see where that's gonna lead.
I did a bit of research online as well, and I saw that you did some baseband trainings. Is that also one of your targets?
No, I mean, I used to give the baseband training, yes, at Offensive Con actually. Uh, but yeah, I don't think I'm gonna be giving them anymore because I guess it was just a little too much work for me. So I think I'll just focus on actually doing research and stuff like that, and not like giving trainings.
Oh, okay. And so, what is your background? Because you said you're from Senegal?
Yes, I'm from Senegal, and so in terms of background, I went to university in the US. So I did computer science and math there at Northeastern University. And before university, I wasn't really a computer guy. So that's where I started with things like programming there. And then I had a friend, a pretty good friend, that showed me, all this hacking stuff. And that's kind of how I got hooked and started playing war games, CTFs, things like that.
And how did you end up in the US in 2010?
Um, yeah, I mean, so I went to I don't know if you know, IB, like International Baccalaureate. Basically, yeah. So I went to a school for that. And typically, what people do, actually, not necessarily even if you go to a school like that, but a lot of the people here, they'll go abroad for like university. Yeah. A lot of people will go abroad for university. And I just kind of applied the few different places. I applied in the UK, the US. Yeah, the UK and the US, actually, the two places I applied. And I really basically almost just picked randomly because I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I mean, I was like, I'll just go to school. I'll go to school. I'll go to school.
And so you just picked computer sciences?
Yeah. So yeah, because I mean, first I wanted to do computer graphics, and funnily enough, I thought that computer science was that, but it
Oh,
wasn't.
wait, so this is so funny. So
Yeah.
you applied to computer sciences thinking that you were going to do like some graphic design or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
What a happy accident. You got a great career out of it.
Yeah. And then I was like, damn, this is definitely not. This is programming and stuff. At first, I thought, oh, maybe this is how you start. But then I was like, no, this is not the right place. But whatever. I ended up liking it.
Yeah, apparently so. You've won multiple competition, worked for tier list companies. It was a happy accident.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I definitely am happy about it for sure.
So you started off in the scene by playing CTFs because your friend showed you about the world of hacking.
Yep, exactly.
Oh, are you still in contact with that friend?
Yeah, actually they were at offensive club, so I saw them there.
Oh, okay. Wow, cool. That's such a nice story. So that
Yeah.
you didn't hop in the scene at 16 years old like most of the people. Then you started during
No,
university.
no. Yeah, absolutely not here. Yeah. I just started in university. Yeah.
How was the scene at the time?
So I started university, I think I went there 2010, and maybe I met this friend around 2012, 2013, something like that. So I don't really know much about, like the hacking, like VR, scene, but the CTF scene was probably the best back then. I think a lot of people will agree. the good old times. It was really nice. Yeah, the challenges seemed like they were more fun, and yeah, it wasn't as much of an industry as it is now. Almost seems like CTF is an industry now.
I was gonna ask you that because I saw one of your posts on Twitter where you said that CTFs are not what they used to be. Can you elaborate?
No, that was more like a tease. I think that's like I played a CTF and with some friends and we did really bad, and that was kind of my my how can I say? It was just like more like a butthurt reply. Sorry
Okay.
for the word. Yeah.
A little bit of a
So,
rant.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was more of a rant. But yeah, in general, I do feel like they're not the same they were before, whether good or bad. I don't know if it's in a positive or negative way, but they're just different. It feels so much more serious now.
Like multiple steps to achieve roots, or
No, not necessarily. There is something about the challenges themselves, but it's mostly like super big teams, like huge teams, and yeah, just people who are basically CTF players full time, that kind of thing.
Mm.
And yeah, and some challenges, yeah, they just seem, I don't know. I guess it's because there's been so many CTFs that people need to try to innovate, but just some challenges now just seem bad, you know. Either because we've seen them before or yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm just too old. I'm too old. Maybe yeah, that's why.
Yeah, I would know because don't know what the CTF scene was like. Well, back in 2010, I was too young. But I've only started playing CTFs recently. It wasn't too much my thing before. So I'm kind of
Mm.
discovering it now. But so far, so good.
Yeah, there are definitely still some fun ones that I like to play sometimes with some friends for sure. That is for sure. Yeah, it's not like a general thing when I say, it's not the same. There are still some high quality ones, I think.
Which ones are the CTFs that you play these days?
So we with some friends we played some, I think it was Code Gate, we played some HitCon, Plaid CTF of course. And yeah, basically we only played those, I think, in recent. We played also Google CTF actually, sorry. Yeah. But yeah, those are the we just play like 3 or 4 every year.
Did you do the Hexacon CTF last year?
No, there was a CTF there. You mean on site?
On site, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if it was the Hexacon CTF, but I think there was a company that did have, like a challenge for. I don't know if it was the CTF, but there was like a challenge from.
So there were two.
Okay.
Yeah, it was Binary Gecko had one that you could play during the whole weekend. It was just as you go, and then Hexacon had set up a competition. And I think I can't remember his name, but it was this American kid that won, probably like 17 or 18 years old.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I did try that thing, and I think I failed in the first step or something. I think I tried and I failed in the first step. If I can remember correctly.
Well, there's a pretty big mindset, right? Like a gap of mindset between playing a CTF and doing what you do, like vulnerability researching. Or would you say that it's somewhat similar?
I think it's. Yeah, I mean, I guess this is a big debate. Some people say CTFs are worthless. Some say they're worth something. But yeah, I think that CTFs are pretty good in terms of teaching somebody how to do VR. The biggest issue is that CTFs, they're always like in a weekend, it's like 48 hours. The things are designed to be very short. Whereas in the real world, you might be looking at something for months. And in the CTF, you come in with the certainty that there is a solution, right? In the real world, I mean, theoretically, you can argue that there's always a solution, but you don't know that for certain.
Yeah. So it makes it more dreadful as well then.
Yeah. So maybe like a CTF player might come in the VR with not enough patience or something like that.
Ah, that's interesting. Yeah, because they would be so used to a solution being available, or at least that they know that there is a solution, whereas here it's digging and digging and digging, and you don't know if you're digging in the right place. And
Exactly. Yeah.
I would say, like, because you said that someone who could be very good at CTFs and learn from them going into the VR space might be more difficult because they might not have the patience. What what tips or what advice would you recommend for someone who wants to get into the VR space, who comes from a background of multiple CTF competition wins?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's just maybe work on your patience. Probably work on your patience because the CTF is just like a small version of real VR, in my opinion.
Mm.
You know, like CTF players, they're going to be really fast, but not everything can be done so fast, basically. Yeah, I think that's what I would say. Yeah, so this work on your patience.
From your experience, have you seen similar situations in the real world, like like setups in the real world that are reflected in CTFs as well? Like I'm talking about uh, protections on binaries and secure coding practices or things like that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, usually like the CTS will inspire themselves from like real world cases, or maybe people would even imagine some situations that can end up appearing, in the real world. So it's, yeah, for sure, in terms of the kinds of bugs and stuff like that. Yeah, I think it's similar. Just because a lot of the challenges will, look at a real bug and then just reproduce, make a challenge that kind of shows that bug in a small controlled environment.
Yeah, that's true. I have seen some like CVEs that were turned into CTFs.
Yeah, it's pretty common, especially for like, like exploitation, stuff like that. It's pretty common that they'll either take some like technique, like that's been published in a paper or something, some exploitation technique, and try to make a challenge with that, or they'll just take a bug that's been published and just make turn it into a challenge, basically.
I just wanted to get back a bit to your like yourself and your career. Are you comfortable before we get into talking about where you worked before? Because I know it's public, but like, can I mention the company names that you worked at?
Yeah, yeah, there is no problem. Yeah, I mean, I out of university, I worked at this company called Virtual Security Research, but it was a pen testing company. So I was doing some pen testing there.
Did you start off as pen testing?
Yeah, that was my first job, at least in security. It was a pen testing company. Yeah.
How long did you do pen testing for?
So I don't know how. I think that so my university, we had to do 6 months in a company. By the way, so the last 2 years of university, you have to. I mean, actually, it's three, but I only did two. You have to spend 6 months working for a company. So I did those 6 months twice at that company. And then when I graduated, I still worked part time for that company. So maybe let's say in total, it was 2 years in total, kind of.
What made you switch to VR?
So yeah, after that, I went to UCSB, University of California, Santa Barbara, because actually the CTF team I was playing with at the time, Shellfish, that's where I was. I don't know how you call it. That was the headquarters, let's say, where a lot of the players were and stuff like that. And so I went to that university. Hope at first I wanted to do a PhD, but then I changed my mind. But I spent a year there as a research assistant. So just doing, it was basically just doing academic research mostly. Um, I spent a year there, and then when I left there, I went to Qualcomm in San Diego. Qualcomm. I don't know if you know Qualcomm, but
They make the Android process.
chips and stuff. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Yep.
chips.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yep. I worked at Qualcomm. I was on the OTA team, the over the air team. So actually, there I was working mostly on stuff like Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. So I wasn't really doing any baseband stuff. and I spent a year and a half, something like a year and a half there,
And what were you primarily focused on?
just working on the security of their like Bluetooth stacks and Wi-Fi stacks. So just like Bluetooth code and stuff like that, auditing those components. Yeah, and then then I left there because actually I mean throughout all this time I wanted to do like I don't know if you know Pwn to own.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to do that throughout all this time, and basically I had a friend from China who had like a basically they he had like a company that's doing a firewall or something, and basically they wanted to do Pwn to own for some PR and stuff like that. At the time, they were still allowed to participate in contests like Pwn to own. So I kind of like teamed up with them in order to try to, compete in the contest and stuff like that. But yeah, I didn't last there very long. So in 2017, I came back home.
What do you mean you didn't last there very long?
So I joined their team, and the goal was, we were gonna do Pwn to own. We're gonna just participate in all the Pwn to owns. At the time, it was only two. There was the one in Vancouver and the one in Tokyo at the time.
And why did you leave the team?
So essentially, like my friend that convinced me to join, he left. He was leaving. So I was like, I'm not gonna stay here.
Okay. Did you not want to go solo?
So yeah, so then I left and I went solo. I left and I quit, I had quit my job at that time already. And I went solo. Yeah. So I started participating in Pwn to Own solo.
And this was in the idea of to do it as a full-time job?
So I don't know. I didn't really have a specific plan at the time. It was just for now, I'll do Pwn to Own. When you win, you have a decent payout that you can survive on.
Mhm.
And then, yeah. And then I teamed up with my friend Richard, and we formed this team called Fluoroacetate. And yeah, we won Pwn to Own. Maybe I think 2 or 3 times we won Master of Pwn, and
Master of
yeah,
Pwn.
that was the time.
Wow. So when was this? This was after Qualcomm then when you did your solo career?
Yeah, after Qualcomm, I did like a Pwn to Own in Tokyo alone. And then I think after that one alone, Richard were also doing it alone. And then we teamed up for the one in Vancouver. So that was 2018 and 2019 and 2020, something like that. Yeah. I really don't remember the exact years, but it was something like that.
And how do you choose your targets for Pwn?
So they published them, right? They published the targets. It's gonna be like at the time at least it was more traditional than it is now. And what I mean by that is, you had the browsers, the three browsers, Chrome, Firefox, and Microsoft. I mean, actually, at the time it was four browsers. So there was Microsoft like Edge, right? Now that one is just Chrome, but at the time it wasn't. It was like its own thing. Then there was Firefox, there was Safari, there was Chrome. Then we had the hypervisors, VirtualBox, VMware. What else was there? I think that at some point they had Adobe Reader. You know, Adobe
Yeah.
Reader was a target, but that was basically it. Yeah, that was basically it.
And how long does it take for you to go from first starting the beginning of an analysis on your target to the end goal where you have a full functioning exploit?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's very hard to determine because sometimes you can be lucky and find something in a week, but sometimes you might not be so lucky and it could take a month or more. But at the time, at the time we were going for multiple targets, so hard for me to remember. But in total, maybe we were spending 2 months, 2 or 3 months on the chat, on the contest.
And so after Pwn to Own, then what did you? Because so you went to work for Azimuth, right?
Exactly. So after Pontoon, when was this? This was around COVID time or whatever. I wasn't like a it wasn't like a I wasn't like an employee there, but I had a contract with them, so I worked with them. So it was in total something like a year. In total something like a year. Yeah, but it wasn't azimuth then. It was transient.
Oh, it was Trenchant. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
And then you left Trenchant and you went to Vigilant Labs.
yeah. Then I left. Yeah, I think even before joining Vigilant Labs, what was I doing? I think that was at least over a year after I left or something. Yeah, it was at least over a year. I mean, I didn't do anything during those. I was just, doing research on my own, stuff like that. But I had got my first kid around the time I left. And yeah, so I just didn't want to work, basically.
You wanted to take care of your child.
Yeah, exactly.
And then at some point you decided you didn't want to take care of him anymore and then you joined Vigilant Labs.
Yeah, that's about right. At some point, I was like, this is too much. Let me just no. But yeah, at some point, I just joined Vigilant Labs. I joined Vigilant Labs. Yeah.
Did they reach out to you or did you decide to apply?
No, yeah, they reached out to me. So basically, the boss of the company, actually, even before starting it, told me so because I was like employee number one there. Actually,
Oh,
yeah,
what?
yeah,
How was it to be employee number one?
yeah. I mean, it was an experience.
So you basically helped building the company.
Yeah, together with some. I mean, you met Cyril also. He was also there, like two or three, and there was some few other guys. So yeah, it was nice. Yeah, at the beginning, it was really nice, and we spent a. It was hard, but it was very fun.
What made you take the leap from competitive bug hunting to working in vulnerability research full time?
I don't know. I mean, I really don't know. For me, I mean, the Pontoon thing we had already won a few times, so it was like a accomplished goal. And the full time stuff, I don't know. It just seemed like a job that you can work, you can do this job and get paid to do something you like to do instead of because the Pontoon stuff you're basically banking on succeeding. It's always banking on succeeding.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But they're a bit different, right? Because there's one side where you're disclosing vulnerabilities that you found, and then
Mhm.
on the other side, you're doing some vulnerability researching.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's true. Yeah, they are definitely different. Yeah, I mean, I guess at the start for me, it was definitely hard to do that switch because I do remember really being hesitant, because VR and stuff definitely has a bad rep, let's say. It's not the most sometimes people frown upon it and stuff. So
Yeah, I guess it depends who you talk to.
exactly. At the time, I don't know, I was very hesitant. I was like, should I do this? Should I not do this? But yeah. But in the end, I mean, I realized that there's a lot of good that comes out of it. It's all unfortunately a lot of the good that happens people can't talk about, because it's not always used in a public thing that people can share. I don't know if you know what I mean.
Of course,
But
yeah.
yeah. So yeah, the bad thing is the only thing that bubbles up. But I think there's a lot of good that it's used for sure.
I
Yeah.
can understand the struggle of deciding if you want to switch or not. Like it's kind of like a moral dilemma.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, exactly.
But have you ever considered switching to the defensive side? Um, like for example, Project Zero or Amnesty?
I mean, I wouldn't say I considered switching, but like before doing VR, I considered whether I wanted to go that route or go to this offense side, basically. Yeah. And it was basically, what do I want to do? Do I want to go this side or do I want to go that side? Yeah, there was definitely that debate at the time in my head. But yeah, I mean, switching to the defensive side is still possible. I guess, you just mentioned too, but it can also work for a company like Apple or Microsoft or whatever. And, you'd be, yeah.
And do you see yourself going in there?
I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not sure. I really am not sure. Like, hard to know the future.
Between like participating in Pontoon and doing vulnerability research at like Azimuth or Vigilant, did you see any fundamental differences between both?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I guess one simple thing is the point-to-own stuff, like you you're just making you don't have to do some high quality job. That makes sense. You just need something that works for point-to-own. But in like a professional setting, you might need to do something that works better, that is more reliable, or I don't know, has cleaner code.
Yeah, okay, it needs to be a stable exploit that works all the time, everywhere.
Yeah, that kind of thing. That kind of thing. At least that's what's hoped to achieve. Yeah, and whereas for Pontoon, you just need something that works once out of three times, you know?
What's the complexity of making a reliable exploit for like one of these VR companies as opposed to Pwn to own? Say in the same scenario, how do you make sure that your exploit will be 100% reliable and not 30% reliable?
It really is a case by case thing. Yeah, I don't know. It really is a case by case thing. I don't know how to, yeah, to describe, you know. It's just you test it and you see, then you try some different ways. You try to identify the reasons why it's not reliable and stuff like. But of course, the bugs you have will make a difference, because some bugs, sometimes you might have a bug that is basically just almost impossible to make more reliable and things like that, because of the primitives you get and such. It's really a case by case thing. You might you might even have some bugs. Yeah, that's why I'm like, the bad bugs some companies will use for prone to one, because it's gonna be like, I can't do anything serious with this, so let me just use it for
Yeah, for PR and some money.
yeah, exactly.
And so at Azimuth and Vigilant, were you working on the same targets?
I mean, yeah, basically just mobile stuff. Mobile stuff, yeah.
So you've done different targets. So you've done mobile, baseband, browsers. Is there one target that you find easier to do VR on than the other?
I mean, you mean for me personally?
Yeah, for you personally.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I think the I liked baseband a lot, but I couldn't debug things because there's no debugger and stuff like that. But at least a lot of the other targets you can debug. You can attach a debugger or things like that, or debug easily, more easily, I guess. Yeah,
So how does baseband VR work?
it's a lot of reverse engineering, I guess. You do a lot of reverse engineering and a lot of guessing. Yeah, because you can't really debug. Some of them you can kind of debug, but yeah, you can get crash dumps and stuff like that. But yeah, it's a painful experience for sure.
With the new complexity of finding bugs and the new mitigations, what keeps you motivated to stay in this space?
I mean, for me, it's just that I like it. Yeah, I like it. It feels like a game to me. And yeah, as long as I can find a way to make it feel like a game, and I'll do it. But then when it's not, I'll quit.
It's still very funny though that you stumbled upon this completely by accident and managed to make a whole career out of it. That's very funny. Because yeah, you were saying in the beginning that you came from CTFs, just because your friend told you to join.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Do you remember your first CTF?
I think my first CTF was UCSB ICTF. I don't know if they're still doing it, but UCSB was doing this thing called ICTF. Yeah, it was my first CTF.
Hmm.
And then yeah, and then the second one was, it was a, what was it called? Nuit du Hac. It was the Nuit du Hac CTF. Like it was like, I don't know if they're also still doing it, but that was like a French CTF. Those were basically my first two CTFs.
I'm curious to know because I spoke to a lot of people in the scene, and a lot of them came from pen testing as well. What made you switch to VR instead?
I mean, I just enjoyed it more. I mean, I enjoyed it more for sure.
Hmm.
I enjoyed the. I mean, I liked CTFs a lot. I really liked the CTFs a lot, and basically, it felt to me like the graduation from CTF was to do kind of CTFs in the real world.
Well, there are, when you say CTFs, do you mean like the pwn challenges? Because there are like web challenges and AD challenges.
Yeah, yeah. So when I was doing CTFs, I was definitely not doing phone. I was definitely not doing web or whatever. I was doing either phone or reversing. A little bit of reversing, but mostly phone challenges for sure.
Okay, yeah. And so did like pen testing feel a bit tedious, like a checklist, or kind of boring?
Yeah, I just didn't enjoy it as much for sure. Yeah, just didn't feel. I didn't get the same satisfaction, I guess. But yeah, I mean, pen testing. I mean, the sad thing is that it's pretty important. Some people have to do it to kind of like keep the companies safe. A lot of the companies that we use and stuff that are keeping our data or whatever. I'm glad that somebody's doing it. I'm glad it's not me though.
There's this tool called Pentara, and
Yeah.
Pentara is supposed to do what a pen tester does. So literally identify misconfigurations, vulnerabilities, like common vulnerabilities like the OWASP top 10, or even internal infrastructure, so NetSec and AD and stuff like that. And it's supposed to do a pretty darn good job. So
It's like an AI tool or something.
yeah, I think it came out a bit before the AI hype, but I would not be surprised that they've integrated AI in there.
But I mean, AIs are already pretty good at solving CTF challenges for sure.
Yeah, that's true. Although I did try to use it to help me with a like a ROP challenge. I don't know much about it, but even I had to correct a like a ChatGPT because it was not telling me the correct stuff, and I was like, this is not correct.
Yeah. I mean, I meant more like if you give it like a CTF binary or something, it has a high chance of telling you this is the bug.
Ah, I
It's
see.
kind of what not like writing the exploit for you. No.
Yeah, okay, I see what you mean. Yeah. I've never tried that actually, but talking about Rob gadgets, actually, that reminds me of something I saw. I saw you posted a GitHub repo for Rob gadget on ARM, and then there were a bunch of other architectures I don't know.
Yeah.
So what's the reason behind this tool that you created?
Yeah, I mean, it's basically the same principle. I made that tool for CTFs actually. So it's basically the same principle. You just find gadgets based on, the ending instructions that will, pop a value from the stack or whatever. And yeah, I mean, you need to take into account the different architectures because the instructions are not the same and stuff like that. So yeah, the tool was just meant to find gadgets for different architectures.
Oh, I see.
It was just a project I had when I was playing CTFs. Yeah, just to try to, I don't know, do something that will teach me more about ROP and stuff like that. It's very common in the CTF challenges.
Is it also common in like real world scenarios?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends. Yeah, I guess it depends. It could be.
I want to get back to some of your insights, like personal insights. Like, what currently excites you the most in the world of VR or exploit development?
That's a good question. I mean, just looking for bugs, learning about a target, and then writing an exploit and seeing the exploit work. Yeah. When you're looking for a bug, you get to learn about new things or things you didn't know about before. And yeah, it's exciting. And then when you find some bugs, it's even more exciting. So yeah, it's like hunting for knowledge.
I heard people say it's like solving a puzzle. Do you see it kind of the same way?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Solving a puzzle is a good way to put it.
But how do you stay like so motivated after, I don't know, say like 2 or 3 months of finding nothing?
Yeah, I mean, it's sometimes hard. Sometimes it's hard, but yeah, I don't know. You just have to be stubborn. the stubbornness thing. Yeah, some people are more stubborn than others.
Do you think that ping ponging between two different targets could kind of help you not go too crazy? In the sense that you're like, okay, it's been 2 months, I'm just gonna hop on another target and I'll come back to this later.
Yeah, I mean, I think that could help certain people. Yeah, I mean, people are always different, but yeah, it could help for sure. Yeah, people are different. Probably some people will just be like, "Oh, I just wanna, as long as I'm not done with this, I'm not gonna give up." Or yeah, but some people will be like, "Yeah, let me take a break," and they can come back stronger with a refreshed mind and stuff.
And are there any aspects of technical work that you enjoy less or find tedious?
I mean, I'm not sure. I guess it depends. It- Right now, probably not. Because right now, I mean, all I'm gonna do is just look for bugs and try to write exploits for them. So, yeah.
Right now, that's kind of what you're working on now. So you left Vigilant and you decided to go solo again. This seems to be a recurring theme for you. Maybe in a couple of years we'll see you at another company again.
Yeah. I hope not, actually. I really hope not. Yeah.
No? You want to finish your career in solo mode?
Yeah, and then do something else that's not hacking.
What other interest would you have that's not hacking?
Maybe finally computer graphics. Finally. For real this time.
Okay. When you sign up to the course, let me double check to make sure that you're not signing up to hardware
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
or pottery.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'll send you so you can double check, bro.
Okay, so completely leaving the computer scene then.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'll still play CTF and stuff like that because I mean, I see myself at least enjoying it for a long time. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, those are not gonna go anywhere, so you'll always have the opportunity to join.
yeah,
Are you gonna become a contractor or are you just gonna do this for fun on the side? Look for some bugs.
yeah. I mean, I'm not sure. Yeah, I mean, I'll do some research for sure, but I'm not entirely sure what direction I will take. I'll just see. I'll see. Yeah, I'll try to figure it out.
And would you be interested in doing Pontuon again, or is that not in the cards?
Maybe not. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I would. Yeah.
So this is just you taking a break now, just breathing and take your money and go home.
Yeah, the past, I don't know, basically almost since I left, I've just been taking a break. Yeah. Spending time with my family, kids, stuff like that, and some friends. But yeah, I mean, I'm hoping to start working again. I don't know, next month, I guess. Next month, yeah.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
just wanted to take a bit of a breather and
Yeah,
take
exactly.
some
Yeah.
time off. Taking time off, but not being completely away from the scene either, because see you at conferences. So,
Yeah, I went to the conference. Yeah.
are you planning to go to any other conferences this year?
Maybe I'll go to Hexacon, but I'm not sure. Maybe I'll go because it's easy for me to go there. It's like just a 5 hour flight. So maybe I'll go. Maybe I'll go to that conference.
I enjoy going to these conferences. Every time I go there, everyone asks me, "What are you doing here? You do pen testing." But the truth is, it's such a nice community, and it's very interesting for me as well to go and talk to these people and hear these presentations and be like in the same room with them. Just getting a bit of everyone's story and everyone's piece of advice is just I feel really lucky to be able to do that because any one of these people who started, there are people who started when they were 16 or people who started at uni, and I feel like they didn't have this strong of a network like I do. And I'm just really happy I have this because I made some really nice friends, very supportive friends as well, and people who are willing to guide me and give me some tips and ideas on where to start. So I feel fortunate. And that's kind of why I go to these conferences, I guess.
Yeah, I mean that's really cool. That's really cool. It's really nice to have people that you can ask questions to or who can kind of help you and guide you. Yeah, that's definitely super important because it will save you a lot of time for sure.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. Because I can't even imagine like what it was like for you, especially at your time when you started doing all these CTFs and vulnerability researching. Uh, I mean, at the time, the information that was available have been very limited as well. So you had to do a lot of digging by yourself.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't as much information as now. But I also feel like, I don't know, it seemed like there's less and less information because as people are switching, to VR companies and stuff, they are just sharing less. They're gonna naturally share less and less.
Oh, yeah, I had some questions about your trainings because you gave some baseband trainings as you said. Was that just the one time?
So I think I'm trying to remember, but I think I gave it 3 times. I think I gave it 3 times total. Yeah.
How does one prepare for a training? Like, what are the difficulties that you encountered during training?
Yeah, you have to prepare the material. And for something like baseband, you have to, get the hardware and make sure everything is working because it's not just like a software training, right? So yeah, get the hardware, make sure everything was working, test everything. Shipping the stuff also can be annoying, making sure it gets there on time. Those things, you know what I mean? Yeah, the challenges, yeah. Because I was doing the training alone, so I guess it was hard, you're just standing, walking around the class and stuff. Yeah.
Because I'm thinking of do you know Black Hoodie?
Yeah, yeah, I heard
Uh,
about it. Yeah.
I did that twice already. I did it once at Hexacon and then once here at Offensive
Okay.
Con. And I was talking to Marion, and she said that she would be happy for me to do a web application pen testing training.
Oh, nice.
Um, so it would be super cool. I would be so happy to do that and also to kind of give back to Black Hoodie.
Mhm.
But I'm just like, how do you prepare for a training? Like, what am I gonna say for 8 hours?
Yeah, I mean, I think you need to focus on making them actually doing hands-on stuff, right? That's how the time goes by. Because you can't talk for 8 hours and just telling them about things is not gonna teach them much, right? So you want to talk a little bit and get them doing stuff, get them actually doing things. Maybe you can start from because you'll get different you'll get different levels, right? People will come with different levels. So you kind of want to start from the basics and up the level to a more advanced thing, I guess, depending on what your training is, to make sure that you include everybody. But yeah, just make them do hands-on stuff.
That would be the idea. But yeah, I was getting sidetracked a bit here. Um, yeah, I was also wondering for like VR roles, what
Mhm.
qualities or like skills do you look in for a person? So like if someone comes to you or comes to one of these companies and says, "Yeah, I do a lot of like Pwn CTFs. I'm I don't know, number one in my university or something like that." How do you screen for like a good VR candidate?
I'm not sure. I mean, I think the best thing for somebody who wants to do VR is to make sure they do a lot of real world stuff, try to find real bugs, maybe even try to write exploits for old bugs, and yeah, try to give presentations on bugs you found. Like a public presence can help. Yeah, try to find real bugs in different things. Like if you want to do some browser stuff, try to find some bugs in some browsers, that kind of thing. Yeah, and once you have that, and whatever, you have something to show, then for sure you'll get a big chance at joining. Much more than the guy who just did CTFs. Because nowadays everybody's doing CTF, so you need something to set yourself apart. Yeah. And it's also better for the companies to know that, oh, this guy has found bugs before, so he can do it again, maybe, kind of thing.
Or the writing exploit, because like I thought it was quite interesting what you just said was writing exploits for bugs that have already been found, so like previous CVEs, and just
Yeah.
like it sometimes there's no POC or anything like that, so I guess like finding the bug yourself because you know that there's a bug, so you find it yourself and then you develop a whole exploit.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's valuable in teaching you something about, how it's done. I mean, it's not the biggest thing probably that's going to be of value on your CV, but it's better than just CTFs kind of thing. Yeah, but the ideal would be to find some bugs yourself and then they can be like, oh, yeah. Also depends on what the role would be, whether it's going to be a junior role or not.
So basically, having like some novel research would really set you aside.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Even if you find just a single bug, yeah, then it will make a big difference. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I think that's interesting. I kind of want to try that too, but like it just takes so long. Well, I mean, that's the time it needs to take, right? But with having like a full-time job and everything, it's just I don't see myself finding like a bug anytime soon. But yeah, so to like end this, like what's next for you? What are you going to be working on in the future?
Yeah, so I don't know. I guess I'll do some research on mobile stuff and see where it leads. Yeah. Hopefully I can collaborate with some friends because I don't want to work alone. And I don't really want to join a company, but I don't want to work alone. So try to collab with some friends and stuff. And yeah, it's gonna be a fun time, I think.
Cool. Yeah, well, I hope you find some joy in that and still get to do your computer graphics course at some point.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe you can design my next logo one day.
Perfect. I mean, AI will do. I'll use AI to do it, but yeah, no
No,
problem.
you have to do it yourself.
Are people still doing that nowadays? I don't even know.
Oh, well, it's true that AI can do it in 2 seconds.
Uh, but yeah, I mean, I'll design something. Let's see. Maybe actually, yeah, now that I think about it, maybe that's not such a good thing to go to. Not that AI can do all that.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe you just need to be an artist and then you can paint things with your, I mean, on a piece of paper or something.
That's true. That's true. Except I don't know how to do that. But
Well, you went into a computer science course not knowing anything either, and look where now.
yeah, that's true. Fair enough. Fair enough.
This was such a cool conversation. I'm very happy we had it, and I hope that people will enjoy knowing more about you.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. And yeah, hopefully I was able to answer some questions or whatever that's gonna help you.
Yeah, I think your insights within this field is always a bit like interesting for me and for other people who know you or want to get more advice or um, just know more about this field as well. Because it is quite a tight community. Like you have to be going to these conferences or these events to meet these people and talk to them and exchange ideas. If you don't have the money or the company to send you to these conferences, then
Hmm,
you're kind of left aside. So that's kind of the
that's
idea of
true.
the podcast.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Awesome.
But
Yeah.
I hope I'll see you soon and have an amazing day.
All right. Thanks. Have a good one, you too.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Bye.